Hello everybody and welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. In this case, mostly lush. So this is my Oase Cinescaper, about 20-gallon aquarium. Lovely kit I got from the German seller. And on top I've got a Chihiros RGB Slim Light, and I'm running it on the red mode, which the app controls, and that's to encourage and bring out all these incredible red tints and hues that are starting to explode in this tank like fireworks. The first in that line, of course, is the AR, the Alternithiki Renicki, or called AR because that name is just a handful, a mouthful. There are several varieties of this plant, and in my tank I've got, I believe, two. The Mini, which is a cultivar, a hybrid, developed to stay a bit shorter. I think that's what most of this is, although I have a feeling, due to some moving around of random stems, that there's going to be a couple of the longer variety in there as well, and only time will tell. It's a slow grower. It needs high light. It's medium difficult. Once it gets going, I think it's a no-brainer. And if you get a tissue culture like I did, this started from itsy bitsy plants, and you pull them apart and follow the instructions, run a high light, and you don't have to have CO2, but I do. You're gonna get this fabulous explosive pink and red color, which even though it's more common than ever, is still an anomaly in the freshwater aquarium hobby. And it's coveted. This is an inexpensive plant, and it's sold everywhere now. So definitely consider it for your tank, regardless of how you run your system. It can survive, do okay, and then ultimately thrive in the conditions I described earlier. Secondly, I've got some dwarf hairgrass, and it's in need of a trim. It's getting shaggy, right? And then this is either Juncus repens or Helenthium, a kind of a sawgrass type of plant. I pulled tons of this plant out because it had sent roots every which way into the AR, into the back, through the rock work, and it was going to take over. And so I just literally pulled plants out like ropes with individual plantlets every few inches on the rope. I think this is Juncus repens, or it could be dwarf sage. I've kept that one in here because it complements the scape, but I'm wary of it, and as soon as I see roots, shoots coming out, I'm going to deal with it. Honestly, this whole tank needs a trim, and that's a high-class problem because after a couple months, I'm now getting the explosive growth that happens all of a sudden, it seems. First, you've got a whole bunch of tiny plants, and you're excited about every little new shoot or roots that you see, and then suddenly it's ba-boom. Now my favorite plant is Hygrophila pintifada, and that's this one here, and it's over here as well, because it does everything I like. It has color, it has fabulous leaf textures, and it grows sideways or vertical, and you can plant it on rocks or wood or in the soil. It can really be an aquascaper's best friend, and it is currently my favorite plant in the entire hobby, Hygrophila pintifada. I've raised these from tissue cultures as well, but that's not necessary. You can get them as little plantlets, little epiphytes, almost like you would in a Nubius, or even in a pot. In the back, I have different kinds of Rotala, Bacopa, and maybe Lymphonealy. I beg your pardon. I have a number of stem plants, shall we say, and those are showing about as much red as each of the species is capable of, and I'm super excited to see that. I'm going to ultimately be moving some around, because if you can look down here, I think this is a Rotala H. Ra, and it's just struggling to compete with its neighbor. And while I do love the golden color, it looks a little bit like it's fighting, and I might clear that out to make room for that stem plant and just fatten that area up like that. And then this one, which is doing well, and then this one, which is doing well, and maybe just have a trio versus a quartet in the back. I don't know. I'm still sorting that out. The mosses, of which there are Weeping and Christmas and Flame and Spiky, are all doing super duper. And the shrimp, I often find the Amano shrimp, whoop, almost fell on my butt, sitting on top like that one is there, basking in the hottest part of the tank and nibbling off of the biofilm that grows so close to the light on that moss. And then as I switch side here, I've got a crypt down here, and you know, it was a funky spot in the aquascape. If I was in a contest, I'd have points deducted. And so I stuck this crypt down there, and it's growing. It's not dying, but it looks kind of honestly stupid, and I might take it out. And then what I would do is maybe take some of this easy growing sort of chain sword and just let it kind of finish going across the back and call it a day. These are all thoughts that I've had just in the last couple hours, which prompted me to make this video as I sit back down. In any event, if you saw the tank when it started just a month or two ago, it's come a long way, and I'm super excited to show it to you, and I wonder what you think. It definitely needs a haircut. And I don't have livestock in here. Well, I should say I don't have the species of fish I'm going to keep in here besides the pygmy corydoras, which I have about 8, a dozen Amano shrimp at least, and 7 or 8 Otocinclus catfish. They're all in here, and when they're doing their little thing, it's a joy to watch. You see, there's a Hesperosus that I said pygmy, but it's really a salt and pepper or Hesperosa catfish. There's another, and they just are in constant motion, looking for food. You can see them. It's sort of like a Where's Waldo. Now there's an Otocinclus, and I just moved some of this AR plant around to start a more robust foreground for it, which had been taken over by some of that leafy stuff. Pulled that, and I moved some tops in here. Unfortunately, that plant takes a while, so I'll have to be patient and put up with a little bit of mushy leaves and uprooted plants, etc., etc. But I'm psyched to see kind of that red foreground just expand into this aquascape. In any event, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you, and I promise to answer. As always, keep your hands in the tank.